The week before everything happened, Di Mitchell hosted a Texas Restaurant Association board meeting at her restaurant, Traveler's Table, on Westheimer Road in Houston's Montrose neighborhood. 50 restaurateurs attended. The food was extraordinary. The staff was welcoming. The energy in the room was alive in the way that only happens when a space has been built with genuine intention by people who love what they do. Craig Howard, the chapter president of the Texas Restaurant Association, was there that evening. He later described it simply: great operation, wonderful staff, great food. It was the last time many of them would see her. On Sunday night, May 3, 2026, the Mitchell family was last seen. A babysitter sent a text. No reply. A family member called. Nothing. By Monday afternoon, the silence had lasted long enough that the people who cared about them understood it was not an ordinary silence. A welfare check was requested. Houston Police Department officers arrived at 2113 Kingston Street in River Oaks at approximately 5:25 p.m. on May 4, 2026. What they found inside that house on Kingston Street left an entire city asking a question that no one has been able to fully answer yet. Why? This is the verdict room. We examine the evidence. We follow the facts. And at the end of every investigation, we deliver the verdict. If you are new here, subscribe right now and hit that notification bell. Every week, we bring you the forensic depth, the investigative analysis, and the documented record that tells you what is actually known in the cases that matter most. If you are already part of this community, hit that like button right now. It helps more people find this investigation. Before we go anywhere near the investigation, before we talk about timelines or forensic determinations or the questions this case raises, we need to spend real time on who Di Mitchell was. Because this story begins with a person, not a crime. And the person was extraordinary. Di Mitchell was 39 years old. She was a first-generation Vietnamese American, born and raised in Houston, Texas. Her origin story in the restaurant world began the way many of the best ones do, not in a culinary school, not in a professional kitchen, but in a family one. Growing up, she spent her weekends in her family's Vietnamese restaurant, not as a customer eating in the dining room, in the kitchen, watching, learning, absorbing from the ground up what it actually meant to feed people. That early understanding of hospitality as something deeper than commerce would eventually become the philosophical foundation of everything she built. But Di did not stop at the family kitchen. She earned her undergraduate degree from the University of Houston and went on to complete her master's degree at Penn State University. After graduation, she built a career in the hospitality and retail industries that took her through the ranks of multiple Fortune 500 companies. She was, by every account from people who worked alongside her, someone whose professional trajectory moved in one direction only. She combined a business discipline that most restaurateurs spend years learning through painful trial and error with a love of the thing itself that could not be manufactured. Around 2010, she met Matthew Mitchell. Matthew was 52 years old. He had been educated at Emory University, had studied in France, Italy, and at Oxford in England. Before the restaurant world found him, he had been a journalist, working in London, in Paris, in New York City. Before making a career transition into the pharmaceutical industry that few people would have predicted or attempted. He rose to become president and CEO of the Texas Center for Drug Development, a Texas-based clinical research company, a position he held for more than a decade. Then, with Di as his partner and the Art Institute of Houston as his classroom, he made another transition. He decided to cook. In October 2019, they opened Traveler's Table on Westheimer Road in Montrose. The concept was specific and deliberate. Take beloved dishes from culinary traditions around the world and present them with craft, care, and elevation. Houston, one of the most diverse cities in the United States, a city that understands global food as a daily reality rather than an exotic novelty, understood immediately what Traveler's Table was offering. The restaurant became a fixture of Houston's culinary identity. It appeared on multiple Food Network programs, including a segment on diners, drive-ins, and dives. In 2023, one of their chefs appeared on Beat Bobby Flay. That chef won. In 2024, they opened Traveler's Cart on Montrose Boulevard. In 2025, The Houston chapter of the Texas Restaurant Association named Matthew and Thy the Restaurateurs of the Year. Recognition voted by the peers who watched them build and knew the work that building required. Eric Sandler, editor of Culture Map Houston, described Thy in terms that multiple people would echo independently. She was deeply involved in local philanthropy, served as a mentor to the people around her in the industry, and was, as he put it, most alive when she was helping other people celebrate. Traveler's Table and Traveler's Cart had become especially popular for birthdays and group gatherings precisely because of the energy that Thy brought to the idea of celebration as something worth creating space for. She loved her team, supported them, encouraged them, and promoted them to positions of greater responsibility. As Sandler noted, the ability to provide opportunities for other people's success was something genuinely meaningful to her, not as a management principle she had read somewhere, but as something she actually cared about. Sandy Nguyen, owner of Houston restaurants Saigon Hustle and Sunday Press, described her as more than a professional colleague, as a friend she had lost. Craig Howard, who had specifically recruited Thy to serve on the association's board because he saw in her someone with the energy and vision to shape where the chapter was going, described what the industry had lost in terms that felt personal rather than institutional. And Emily Williams Knight, president and CEO of the Texas Restaurant Association, said simply, "To say that Thy will be missed is an understatement. We will remember Thy as a ray of light who inspired everyone around her." That phrase, ray of light, appeared across multiple independent statements from people who had no coordination with each other and no shared script. It was the word that people reached for independently when they were trying to describe the same person. Matthew and Thy lived at 2113 Kingston Street in River Oaks, one of the most affluent residential neighborhoods in the country. They had 2 children. Their daughter Maya was 8 years old. Their son Maxwell was 4 years old. And Thy was pregnant, carrying what would have been their 3rd child. On Sunday night, May 3, 2026, the family was last seen. By Monday afternoon, May 4, 2026, officers arrived at the Kingston Street home for the welfare check that had been requested by both a babysitter and a family member who had been unable to reach the family since the previous night. The Houston Police Department issued a statement on May 5th stating that evidence on scene indicated the incident was a murder-suicide in which the male shot the 3 victims and then shot himself. Maxwell Mitchell was named as the suspect. The official cause of death determinations were subsequently issued by the Harris County Institute of Forensic Sciences. Maxwell Mitchell's death was ruled a suicide. The deaths of Thy Mitchell, Maya Mitchell, and Maxwell Mitchell were ruled homicides. That is the documented record issued by the official forensic authority. It is presented here exactly as issued, without elaboration, without graphic detail, and with the weight it deserves. The children were found in their beds. That detail is part of the official record. It is stated once and not returned to. It is acknowledged here because it belongs to the complete account of what the investigation documented, and because it is impossible to discuss this case honestly without acknowledging it. Thy sister, Lee Mai, confirmed the deaths publicly in a statement in which she wrote that their family was heartbroken to share that Thy and her beloved children, Maya and Max, had passed away. She asked for privacy. In her statement, she mentioned Thy, Maya, and Max. She did not mention Matthew. There is no script for what a family goes through in circumstances like these, and her words are acknowledged here exactly as she chose to write them. Friends gathered outside 2113 Kingston Street in the hours that followed. Flowers were placed on the sidewalk. Photographs of Thy smiling were left alongside photographs of better times. A neighbor who had lived in River Oaks for 19 years told reporters she had never seen anything like this. She said it simply, without embellishment. "We haven't had these kinds of tragedies. Never seen anything like this." No one had. The timeline of how the discovery was made carries its own significance within the documented record. The babysitter's attempt to reach the family Sunday night went unanswered. A family member's attempt went unanswered. By Monday, the silence had extended to a point where both of these people, independently, concluded that something was wrong enough to require a welfare check. Not just a phone call, not just a text. A welfare check, which means contacting police and asking them to go to the address. Think about what that threshold represents. To contact police for a welfare check on a family, you have to have moved past the ordinary explanations. Busy weekend. Phone on silent, out of range. You have to have decided that the silence is not ordinary, that it breaks from the established pattern in a way that cannot be attributed to the normal rhythms of a family with 2 young children and 2 active restaurants. The babysitter and the family member both reached that conclusion, independently. The Houston Police Department officers who responded to the welfare check arrived at 5:25 p.m. on Monday, May 4th. The official cause of death time reported by the Harris County Institute of Forensic Sciences represents the documentation time, not necessarily the time the events occurred. The Houston Fire Department confirmed that the exact time of death was unclear. What the official record establishes is the gap from the last known contact with the family on Sunday night to the welfare check arrival on Monday afternoon. Somewhere between 12 and 24 hours passed, during which the family was not in contact with anyone outside the home. In a household with 2 young children, an active social media presence, 2 restaurants with staff and operations that required engagement, and a board position that involved regular communication, that gap was anomalous. The people who noticed it were right to notice it. Their decision to contact police led to the discovery that the official record now documents. The HPD Homicide Division arrived on scene. The Harris County Institute of Forensic Sciences conducted its forensic examinations. The official cause of death determinations were released. The investigation continues. Now let us talk about the investigation because the official record of what is known and what is not yet publicly confirmed matters. As of this video, the Houston Police Department has not released a confirmed motive. No note has been publicly confirmed as having been found at the scene. No prior calls to the Kingston Street address for domestic incidents have been reported by police. No prior history of documented disturbances at this residence has been made public. The HPD Homicide Division is leading the investigation. The Harris County Institute of Forensic Sciences has completed its cause of death determinations, and those have been publicly released. Beyond those determinations, what occurred in the interior life of this family before May 3rd has not been established in the public record. The investigation faces the specific challenge that all investigations of this nature face when the primary suspect is deceased. There is no arrest. There is no interrogation. There is no trial. There is no opportunity to put the central question to the person most capable of answering it directly. The reconstruction of what was happening in Maxwell Mitchell's life in the weeks and months before May 3rd, 2026, his mental health, his financial circumstances, his professional situation, his communications, his relationship, must be built from external sources. Phone records, financial records, messages, and the accounts of people who knew him. That work takes time and produces an incomplete picture by definition. But it is the work the investigation is doing. The absence of a publicly confirmed motive in the days following the discovery is not surprising in a case of this complexity. It reflects the methodical process that serious forensic investigation requires. The HPD Homicide Division is working through that process. The Harris County Institute of Forensic Sciences has done its part. What comes next is the longer, quieter work of assembling context. The restaurant's traveler's table and traveler's cart remained open after the news became public. The staff showed up. The statement from the restaurants read, "While traveler's table and traveler's cart remain open, we want to thank our loyal team who showed up and stood strong in these difficult circumstances, ensuring we continue to serve our community." That decision, to keep the doors open, to continue serving the community that Thigh had spent years building, was a specific kind of tribute from the people she had mentored and promoted and supported. They were honoring what she had built by continuing to build it. The Texas Restaurant Association statement included a line that felt carefully considered. "We also want to encourage anyone who needs assistance processing this tragedy to ask for help." In moments like this, we are reminded that our industry is more than workplaces. It is a community. That closing, placed at the end of an institutional statement, was an acknowledgement that the shock of this case reverberated beyond grief into something harder to name. If you or someone you know is experiencing a mental health crisis, please contact the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline by calling or texting 988. Available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, free of charge. You can also visit 988lifeline.org. The National Domestic Violence Hotline is available at 1-800-799-7233. If you are carrying something that feels too heavy to carry alone, resources exist and people are available to help, without judgment, without preconditions, around the clock. All information in this video is based on confirmed reporting by Houston Public Media, NBC News, Fox 26 Houston, and official statements from the Houston Police Department and the Harris County Institute of Forensic Sciences. All quotes from Craig Howard, Sandine Nguyen, Eric Sandler, Emily Williams-Knight, Lai Mai, and the statement from South House PR are sourced from public statements reported by verified outlets. The official cause of death determinations are sourced directly from the Harris County Institute of Forensic Sciences, as reported by the Houston Police Department and Fox 26 Houston. This video is produced with respect for all members of the Mitchell family and for the community that loved them. All individuals are entitled to the dignity of accurate representation. If this story moved you, if you believe thy Mitchell's story and the stories of Maya and Maxwell deserve to be told carefully, completely, and with respect, subscribe to the Verdict Room right now and hit that notification bell. Every week we bring you the cases that deserve serious attention. Leave your thoughts in the comments. This community is built on the belief that every victim deserves to be seen fully. Thy Mitchell was 39 years old. She grew up learning what it meant to feed people in her family's kitchen. She built 3 careers. She opened 2 restaurants that Houston loved. She was a mentor, a board member, a colleague, a friend. She was a mother to Maya and Max and was expecting a 3rd child. The people who worked alongside her said she was most alive when she was helping other people celebrate. The people who knew her, independently of each other, used the same words to describe what they had lost: a ray of light. The investigation continues. The community she built is still standing. Anyone with information is asked to contact the Houston Police Department Homicide Division at 713-308-3600. One more dimension of this case deserves direct acknowledgement before we close, and it concerns what Houston has lost. Houston is a city that takes its food seriously. Not in the way that cities with famous food scenes take their food seriously, as an aesthetic, as a status symbol, as something to photograph, but in the way that a genuinely diverse city takes food seriously, as a daily form of connection between communities, as something that belongs to everyone, as something that carries culture and memory and identity inside it. Traveler's Table was built for that city. The entire concept, beloved dishes from cultures around the world, elevated and celebrated, was a love letter to what Houston actually is. A city where you can eat Vietnamese and Jamaican and Thai and Mexican food made by people from those communities, in a city that has held those communities for generations. Thy Mitchell, as a first-generation Vietnamese American who grew up in her family's restaurant, understood that connection from the inside. It was not a concept she had researched and deployed. It was something she lived. What Houston lost when it lost Thy Mitchell was not just a skilled operator or a successful restaurateur. It was a person who understood what food means to communities at a level that cannot be learned from a business school case study. The people who showed up to work at Traveler's Table and Traveler's Cart in the days after May 4th, the team that kept the restaurants open in circumstances that would have broken most operations, were honoring that understanding. They were people she had hired, trained, promoted, and supported. They were doing the things she had always said she valued most, showing up for the community she had built. Maya was 8 years old. Maxwell was 4 years old. They will be remembered in the context of what their mother built and what their mother meant to the city that loved her. Thy Mitchell was a ray of light. The people who knew her said it independently of each other. That is not the language of a eulogy formula. That is what happens when a person genuinely illuminates the space around them and the people who were in that space are suddenly left in the dark. The investigation continues. The community she built is still standing. The doors of Traveler's Table and Traveler's Cart remain open. Anyone with information relevant to this case is asked to contact the Houston Police Department Homicide Division at 713-308-3600. The evidence has spoken. Let us stay on Thy Mitchell's professional story a moment longer, because the depth of it matters to understanding what Houston lost. In February 2026, just 3 months before the events of May, Thy appeared on Houston Matters, the public radio program from Houston Public Media, to discuss the financial challenges facing the restaurant industry. She spoke with genuine conviction about what set Traveler's Table and Traveler's Cart apart from other dining experiences in the city. "We see our restaurants as an experience," she said. "That is what sets us apart. We want people to feel like they are escaping something when they leave home, rather than just getting a meal." That framing, the restaurant as an escape, as a space where something other than daily life is possible, was not marketing language. It reflected a philosophy that had been present since she first stood in her family's kitchen as a child, watching what hospitality could do for people. Feeding someone a meal is transactional. Creating an experience for them is something else entirely. Thy understood the difference and built her business around it. The Food Network features the Beat Bobby Flay win, the Restaurateurs of the Year recognition. These were external confirmations of something that the regulars who came back for birthday after birthday already knew. This was a place where someone cared about whether you had a good time. There is something specific about the geography and setting of this case that belongs in the record, because River Oaks is not an anonymous neighborhood. River Oaks is one of the most affluent residential areas in the United States. It is the kind of neighborhood where the houses sit on large lots behind established trees, where the streets are quiet in the specific way that comes from decades of careful maintenance, where the residents are, by definition, people who have achieved a substantial degree of financial stability. The Mitchell home at 2113 Kingston Street was a property valued at approximately $1.2 million. It was, by every visible measure, the physical representation of what Matthew and Thy had built together. A neighbor who had lived in River Oaks for 19 years said, in the days after the discovery, that she had never seen anything like this. Never seen anything like this. That observation matters not because River Oaks should be exempt from tragedy. Nowhere is exempt from tragedy, but because it captures the specific shock of an event that broke completely with the established pattern of a neighborhood, a family, and a life that had every appearance of stability and success. The makeshift memorial that grew on the sidewalk outside 2113 Kingston Street in the days that followed was a community responding in the only way communities know how to respond to something they cannot explain. Flowers, photographs, the inadequate and entirely human gesture of placing something physical at the site of an absence, of saying with objects what language cannot quite say. People came because they needed to mark that Thy Mitchell had existed in this city, had built things in this city, had meant something to this city, and that her absence was not going to be absorbed quietly into the ordinary flow of daily life. The Texas Restaurant Association's statement, the tributes from colleagues, the decision of the Traveler's Table and Traveler's Cart staff to show up and keep the doors open, all of it was the same gesture, made in different forms. A refusal to let the loss be only a loss, an insistence that what Thy Mitchell had built was real, was meaningful, and was going to continue even in her absence. That insistence is its own form of documentation. It tells you something true about the person at the center of it. Thy Mitchell was 39 years old. She was a first-generation Vietnamese American who grew up in her family's restaurant learning that feeding people is an act of care. She earned 2 degrees, built a career across Fortune 500 companies, opened 2 restaurants that a major American city claimed as its own, was named Restaurateur of the Year by her peers, and was building toward what would have been her 3rd child. Maya was 8 years old. Maxwell was 4 years old. The official cause of death determinations have been issued. The investigation is ongoing. The HPD Homicide Division is working through the process that all investigations of this nature require. The slow, careful reconstruction of context from external records, from communications, from the accounts of people who knew the family and who are now being asked to help investigators understand what was not visible from the outside. That process takes time. The absence of a confirmed motive in the initial weeks is expected and appropriate. The work being done is the right work, done in the right way, for the right reasons. Thy Mitchell deserved more time. Her children deserved more time. The community that loved her deserved to watch her continue building the things she was building. The investigation is working to provide the fullest possible account of what happened and why, so that the record of her life and her loss can eventually be as complete as a record can be. The evidence has spoken. Before we close, let us acknowledge one more thing that the documented record shows, and it concerns the specific nature of what forensic investigators face in cases of this type. When the primary suspect is deceased, the investigation cannot pursue the path that most criminal cases follow toward a courtroom. There is no arrest. There is no bail hearing. There is no preliminary proceeding in which the evidence is tested publicly. There is no trial in which witnesses are cross-examined, and the full documented record is assembled before a jury. The forensic work that the HPD Homicide Division is doing, the reconstruction of what was happening in the days and weeks before May 3, 2026, is work that will be assembled into a record that exists for the sake of completeness, for the sake of the family members who are trying to understand what happened, and for the sake of the broader community that deserves an honest account of a tragedy that took place in their city. That work may eventually produce answers. It may confirm circumstances that explain, though never justify, what the official record already shows happened. It may reveal financial pressures, mental health circumstances, or private difficulties that were not visible to the people who knew Matthew and Thy Mitchell from the outside. Or it may produce a picture that is incomplete by definition, because the person at the center of it is no longer available to complete it. Either way, Thy Mitchell's story, who she was, what she built, what she meant to the people around her, is a complete story that does not require that final chapter to be understood. She was 39 years old. She had built a career, a community, a family, and 2 restaurants that a city loved. She was pregnant with her 3rd child. The people who worked with her described her as someone who was most alive when she was helping other people celebrate. That is who she was. That is the story that belongs in the record, alongside the official forensic determinations that document how her story ended. The investigation continues. The 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline is available by call or text, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The National Domestic Violence Hotline is available at 1-800-799-7233. If you are carrying something that feels too heavy, help is available. Anyone with information relevant to this investigation is asked to contact the Houston Police Department Homicide Division at 713-308-3600. The evidence has spoken. One final thought. Thy Mitchell appeared on Houston Matters in February 2026, 3 months before she died, to talk about the restaurant industry. She was asked about what made Traveler's Table different, what made it worth the work. She gave an answer that said something true about her. We want people to feel like they are escaping something when they leave home. She built a space where people could escape. She created a place where ordinary Tuesday evenings became celebrations, where birthdays became memories, where people arrived carrying whatever the week had given them and left having experienced something that reminded them what it feels like to be well cared for. She spent her professional life building that space for other people. She deserved to have someone build that space for her. Maya was 8 years old. Maxwell was 4 years old. They will be remembered in the context of the mother who was building a life around the belief that other people's joy was worth creating conditions for. The investigation continues. The community she built is still standing. The doors of Traveler's Table and Traveler's Cart remain open, staffed by the people she mentored and supported and believed in. That continuation is the truest tribute available to someone who was, by every account, a ray of light. She will be missed. The evidence has spoken. Houston's culinary community has a specific kind of closeness that outsiders do not always understand. It is an industry built on long hours, physical proximity, and the daily pressure of feeding people well under conditions that are rarely forgiving. The people who build careers in it form bonds that are different from the bonds formed in offices or boardrooms, because the work itself demands a kind of sustained presence and care that creates real relationships rather than professional ones. Thy Mitchell had relationships across that community, not just professional contacts, relationships. People who described her as a friend rather than a colleague, who used the word devastated rather than saddened when they talked about her loss, who could not speak about her professionally without immediately speaking about her personally, because the two were inseparable for her. She brought herself to her work in a way that left an impression on everyone who encountered her. Eric Sandler, who has covered Houston's food scene for Culture Map for years, captured it with a specific detail when he noted that she was most alive when helping other people celebrate. Not when the restaurant was getting press, not when the awards were being given, not when the professional recognition was arriving, when someone else was having a good time because of a space she had created. That specificity, the idea that her deepest satisfaction came from other people's joy rather than from her own recognition, is the kind of thing that you cannot invent in a tribute. It has to be true to be said that clearly. The Texas Restaurant Association board that she had just joined was a space where she was going to inject new ideas, as Craig Howard described it. Those ideas are now ideas that will never be expressed, policies that will never be proposed, conversations that will never happen. The board she joined briefly will know her only through what she accomplished before she arrived, rather than through what she would have built once she was there. That specific loss, of everything that was still ahead of her, is one of the hardest dimensions of this case to sit with. The 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline is available by calling or texting 988 24 hours a day. The National Domestic Violence Hotline is available at 1-800-799-7233. Help is available without judgment and without preconditions. Thy Mitchell was 39 years old. She was a ray of light. The investigation continues, and the community she built is still standing. The evidence has spoken.